got, though, is two of my questions were posed straight to Councillor Farr. And as this is a call-in, this won't be on the forward work programme for us to bring back to scrutiny. So I'd like some advice on how we deal with that then.
Yeah, I agree. Can we bring some advice in from Meryl, please, on that?
Sorry, Chair. Could you, sorry, Councillor Williams, could you just repeat the question? Sorry, I didn't quite understand.
Sorry, was I breaking up? Yeah, I was just, because two of my questions were specifically for Councillor Farr, and if they're going to be answered in writing, how do we follow that up? Because this is a call-in, this isn't a normal agenda item that would be on the forward work programme.
I think you've still got a member of the Cabinet here, the leader, to answer the questions, and the corporate director. And you'll have the opportunity at the end of this meeting. The committee will take a decision on whether the call-in is referred back or not. And in the usual way, if you're not happy with the answers, they can be we can respond to them, or you can obviously at any meeting of a scrutiny committee, you can amend your forward work programme in the standard item that we have to the meeting. So I think there's a range there of ways forward.
Okay, thanks. Even though we are scrutiny 2 and this would have normally gone to scrutiny 3, because obviously we've got quite a lot on our agenda, I'm also conscious that at 2 o'clock, myself, the leader, and Councillor Thomas have to be in another meeting. So we're not going to get a chance now to make a decision on referring this back.
I think, Chair, if we proceed with the questions to the leader to answer, and then it is obviously for members of this committee to take the decision at the end rather than everybody who was speaking at the meeting. To try and get the answers before we get to that point, I think.
Okay. Okay, we'll progress. I'm not happy about this, though. I'm not content at all. My personal preference would be to defer this meeting to another time so that Councillor Farr can be on the call as well. Is that possible?
I think the leader is asking to come in, Chair.
The only reason that I'm saying this is because I want members to have a full view from the cabinet member responsible as well as yourself. I understand that you will be able to answer the questions, but equally as well, you know, I think members would like to hear from the cabinet member as well, and I think it would be fair to give the cabinet member the opportunity to come in and answer questions as well in her role, because that's her responsibility. But equally as well, I don't think, because we're going to take it to a vote and that would possibly close this down as an issue, I think it's something that we would need to look at, because we've got members who are having to leave because of timings, etc. It might well be better to defer this to a different day. Can I have your views on it, please, Leader?
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and I understand the frustration, and it's unfortunate there's these technical problems. Yeah. I know that Councillor Farr welcomed today's opportunity to speak to colleagues. Always welcome the opportunity to talk about our plans for Porthcawl, but I wanted to make an important point, and this is relevant certainly to members of the public that are here. The decision that was made collectively by the whole cabinet, and whilst of course Councillor Farr is the lead member for regeneration, it was a collective decision made by all cabinet members. So that is why I'm here as well, to help answer any questions that you have for me, because obviously I chaired that cabinet meeting, and I'm sure that if there are any other questions that can't be answered by me or the officers, and you want to specifically ask of Councillor Farr, they can be relayed to members following this meeting. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Leader. I'm minded to continue with the meeting. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask Councillor Williams if she has any more questions, please.
Yes, thank you. I have several more questions. I feel for the public, though. I don't fear that they're getting value for money here because we haven't got all the answers, and some of my questions have to go out to written responses. But if I go to the next question, The brand new all-weather tennis courts, where are these going? Are these remaining on the waterfront, or are they going somewhere else in Porthcawl? And the reason I ask this is, are they easily accessible to all?
Who would like to take this one?
Take this one, Chair. We will of course work very closely with the Lawn Tennis Association and with the local club and current provision in Porthcawl, but our plans are obviously to relocate within the much expanded Griffin Park, and this will very much be a benefit and a gain to the community of Porthcawl, because currently there are not all-weather pitches at all-weather courts, I should say, at Griffin Park. They can only be used seasonally, and we want to see that investment in improved tennis facilities in Griffin Park. But we'll work through that detail with the local groups and with the Lawn Tennis Association as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Leader. Very quickly, I can see that Kelly Watson has her hand up. Can I bring Kelly in, please?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify for the committee the scope of this call-in. Obviously, you're here today because you've called in the decision taken by Cabinet, which was specifically around the appropriation of the land. Now, as you've heard from Janine, there is a difference between the appropriation of the land and then any future decisions that are taken about the use of the land. So if I can just remind the committee that they're here today just to look at the appropriation of the land. I have heard mention of Cozy Corner and Salt Lake, and again, they are not relevant for the purposes of the committee today. Just to clarify that point. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Kelly. Back to the questions. Councillor Williams, did that answer your question?
Yes, thanks. I've just got 3 more questions, and then I have to give my apologies that I will have to leave at 2 o'clock.
Not a problem.
Janine,
did I see we have Councillor Farr back on the call? Sorry, Councillor Williams.
Yes, Chair, I am back in. Sorry about that, but I am back in now. Thank you.
Fantastic, lovely. And you're able to answer questions if required.
Yeah, as long as they relate, as Kelly said, to the appropriation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Cheers. Amanda?
shall I ask my questions then? Because it was down to the appropriation of the land. It was obviously what's the vision for Porthcawl with the appropriation of that land? Because Councillor Farr is obviously representing Porthcawl and might have a different ideals and ideas and different visions. So I'd like to ask her that. Thanks.
Okay, I have lots of ideas, lots of visions, but obviously they are the meat on the bone. The is to get the land appropriated. Yeah, I've been a resident of Porthcawl for over 30 years. I've got children, I've got grandchildren. I know exactly what they're asking me to do. So my ideas is, yes, having a wet area for the residents of Porthcawl. I want facilities, leisure facilities for the residents of Porthcawl, not just for people that come here to visit. Like Treco Bay is fantastic, but that's mainly for visitors, not for residents. I'd like an indoor all year round leisure facility, climbing walls, sensitive areas for children and adults that need it. So yeah, I've got lots of ideas. I'm regularly speaking to residents. I've been in contact with Mr. Strong. I've suggested that the next stage is that we get representation from each of the stakeholders and involve them in every decision making. I've asked officers to arrange another walk through like I did. It just gives you a different idea, different impression of the whole area. So yeah, I'm very, very keen to work with residents.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you very much. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have that perspective given to us. My next question, I think Janine referred to the pub. You've got to correct me because I've probably written this down wrong. You don't put the responses from all of the responses that have come into the original consultation in the public domain. Is that correct? And if so, I thought during any planning application, we'd put comments on the public planning portal. So I wondered why we wouldn't do this in this instance. Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chair. No, Councillor Williams, what I meant by that comment was, yes, we've got every single comment that came in, and we've read them and we've understood them. What we can't do is say, for instance, and I know Mr. Strong is still with us, to say, oh, Jamie Strong requested X, Y, and Z, and we can't do that because that is against our data protection. So what we have to do in those instances is anonymise those comments, and a number of people made the same comments. So what we did is we put them under themes and headings. So for the cabinet report, there's Appendix 5 has themes and headings covering all of the comments, but the cabinet members themselves had the individual responses in a document that we can't obviously release to the public. So we've done both. So the cabinet have them all. The cabinet report itself that went into the public domain is put into themes and headings, but just to assure you, everything was included and was grouped into those themes, because to be fair, people were concerned about the same things. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Williams, does that answer the question?
Great, thanks. Yes, I've just got 2 more questions. Apologies for taking up so much time. Firstly, affordable homes. Beachfront properties automatically bring premium, and whilst I appreciate we need homes and I welcome extra homes, how do we protect such affordable homes in places that bring high premiums like beachfronts? Thanks.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yes, that's a very good question, Councillor Williams. An important part of any housing development that we do in this area in the LDP is has a percentage of affordable homes. That's critical to creating sustainable communities. We look at a percentage from 20 to 30%. Some sites, if they could even take higher. Now, what I would say once again is we're not at the detail of this yet. What the appropriation is just to enable us to bring that detailed forward. But a key part of any planning application for these sites will be the provision of affordable homes within that development. And that's something you will see coming forward in the future. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, last question very briefly.
Yep, my last question is, what was Porthcawl Town Council's involvement in the placemaking strategy, and what role will they have going forward? And that's me done then. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Who would like to take this?
I'm happy to take it, Chair, being actively involved. Yes, they were a key consultee. We've met them, listened to their views. They were represented in the placemaking strategy. We actually tried to support them with the appropriation, because I know they wanted to put information out to the public. My cabinet member, Councillor Farr, is also on the town council, so I know she works with them as well in those 2 capacities. And again, moving forward, as we heard from Margaret Mahinnick earlier, co-production is really important, consultation is really important. The town council will be a key stakeholder and consultee as we move forward with these detailed plans, because again, they're right at the heart of what the community wants. So we're really happy to be able to work with them and continue to.
Thank you,
Chair,
Janine.
Chair, could I just answer some of that as well, please?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so I have spoken to the officers. So we are planning another walk through the sites. What I've suggested is having 2 representation from each stakeholders, rather than having hundreds of people. So we are going to be going through that walk with them as well, and taking questions from them and their ideas.
Lovely, thank you. Moving on, Councillor Clark, can I come to you next, please?
Thank you, Chair. Janine mentioned earlier that the public will be asked what they would want to see in Griffin Park. At the moment, Porthcawl Town Council has taken over the Griffin Park that is there now. So how will this pan out with the new Griffin Park? And where will the finance come from to place the ideas that the public have within the new Griffin Park? Thank you.
Thank you. Janine?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, very good question, Councillor Clark. Of course, Griffin Park has now been community asset transferred to the Town Council, and we're going to have an extended Griffin Park with facilities. So the revenue support and maintaining those facilities are critical. One of the things that we're very keen to do as part of this development is use of Section 106 agreements to have commuted capital sums to look after some of this infrastructure, because of course you will be aware as a member that we're going through a very tough MTFS financial settlement, and what is key to this is that any facilities we put in, we make sure they're sustainable and we can maintain them for the future. So a key mechanism of this is Section 106 agreements. So for instance, if we are having an area of housing, what we would want as part of that would be a playground or Griffin Park, and then we would want to use monies from that to have a commuted sum to maintain it for the next 25 years or the life of that park. I think a key bit of this, though, Councillor, if I'm honest with you, is we're going to have the Town Council front and centre really when it comes to the extension to Griffin Park, because is this something that is going to be transferred? We've got to have those discussions, or is a new park, will it stay with the council? Because it's quite a strategic piece of space. So I'm not going to predetermine any of that at this stage, but what I would say is that we will continue to speak to the Town Council on it, but the Section 106 monies and these commuted sums are critical to this revenue stream going forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Councillor Clark?
Yes, but if I can just have a little supplementary, if I may.
Very quick.
Obviously with the Griffin Park that is now, there's going to be quite a swathe of land taken away for the roadway, and will that make a difference with the agreement that's with the Town Council at the moment over Griffin Park? Because obviously, if you know, they've got the whole of Griffin Park at the moment, and then they're only going to have 9/10, if you like.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Clark. I believe that as part of the community asset transfer, that area, the corner area that we intended to use, was removed from the transfer when the transfer took place, because I think we were cognizant that we needed that to take that corner just to bring the roadway in. So I think that's already as part of that community asset transfer. But I think a key part of this, though, and we've got to be honest about this, is that we can't be removing facilities before we get the new facilities in. You know, we want to replace that bowling green, we want to replace those tennis courts, and I think going forward, a key bit about this is looking at where they should be located in the development plan and ensuring that we phase it in such a way that we still have those facilities, because what you will have as a town council going forward is brand new facilities, a brand new bowling green, brand new tennis courts going forward. You know, this is for the betterment of your community asset transfer. You'll have all that investment in that site. It'll be better for you in the longer term, but I'm pretty sure that corner wasn't in the CAT transfer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that answers my question. Thank you.
And Chair, can I add very quickly, I'm sure Porthcawl Town Council will welcome the doubling in size of Griffin Park. I know how precious that park is as a facility in Porthcawl, and I'm sure they'll be excited about the opportunity to have new bowls areas, new tennis courts, and we'd want to work in close partnership with them as part of this community asset transfer to consider those exciting plans going forward. So there will be a partnership with the Town Council on these plans for Griffin Park. You have our assurance on that, and I'm sure they'd be keen to be part of that partnership. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Leader. That's heartening to hear that those assurances are coming forth from yourself, because I'm sure Porthcawl Town Council will be happy to hear those assurances as well. Thank you. Councillor Jenkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll try not to keep you too long, but I'm not renowned for that probably, but I will continue, bearing in mind now the length of time we've been here.
If you
I am
could,
getting a bit
great.
confused at the moment. It's basically then probably to the director. asked, because in her first opening speeches, she alluded about the difference of appropriation, etc., plans and all that. But we clearly see the emphasis then was placed on Griffin Park. We have much detail on Griffin Park, but very little detail, if any at all, on the Sandy Bay and the further end of the acquisition that you want. And of course, then it came through later on, then she clearly stated that whilst the nitty-gritty would have to be rolled out, nothing is set in stone. She has alluded to housing, 106 agreements, etc. So I'm fearful, as usual, there is a done deal. And regarding to a done deal, I believe that the landowners will benefit more significantly from the appropriation of this land than the people of Porthcawl. And maybe I'm not entitled to say all that, but I know half of my stake when they visit the area of Porthcawl, and there seems to be no substance at all in the statements being made, because you need a vision of something you want to do before getting the land. It's no good saying we want all this land and then we're going to look at what we're going to do. They obviously know what they want to do, right? But it's a provision for tourists, because Porthcawl historically is a tourist town, and it enjoys not only the seafront and its walks, it enjoys the leisure parks, etc. there, right? So I can't see any of that taking place if the whole amount of this appropriation of land is to be continued with. And I would suggest that first, without a whole vision and a whole consultation, my way would be is to suspend all this at the moment. We've gone on nearly 20 years now, kerfuffling about Porthcawl. 1 minute it's going to have this, and then that fell through. The next minute is going to have that, that's fallen through. And then we're doing it piecemeal. Now, I appreciate what the Cabinet are eager to move on, and I think most people are. But as I stated earlier on, we got to move on, because once this job is done, there's no turning back, and we're going to miss the boat. A previous colleague mentioned the fact that we should be competing with other seaside roads. Looking at them, you can't see massive developments taking place on Dawlish Warren, or in and around the St. Ives in Cornwall, Devon, Cornwall, etc. Right, with the exception of large housing sites.
Councillor Jenkins, sorry, can I just pull us back onto track? Is there a question here, please, for
well, my question is basically, what is the vision? They're saying there isn't, nitty-gritty can become, but it's clearly come from statements being made in between that there is a vision for it. But you have not mentioned anything much apart from the dunes remaining in Sandy Bay, etc., that area. And of course, Nottage is a historical little village as well itself. Sorry, not Nottage, Newton down that end. So the question is, you really do know what you want to do, and that's mainly based on the emphasis that's been given to us on Griffin Park, and then alluding to housing.
Thank you. So is the question actually, is the question, are plans already afoot? Is that the question?
Well, yes, it is, because it's bound to be. They've alluded in between, they're not, and yet they are, because 106 agreements have been alluded to have facilities. So somebody's thought about all of these things. That's my question is, come clean again, man.
That's not a question, but yes.
Well,
the question is,
it's logical to me that this is the picture for it.
Absolutely, but I think the question you're trying to ask is, are plans already afoot? And I'm going to put that question to Janine, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Jenkins, absolutely, we've got high-level framework and plans. We've got an LTP, which has a housing allocation on this area for 900 homes. We've never not said that, but this space is much more than just having 900 homes. Okay, we could put many more homes on this site. That's not our intention. The need in Porthcawl is for 1,300 homes, as demonstrated in the LDP, and we've got that broken down into category. But we are planning 1,100, 200 on Salt Lake, which is a massive reduction. And then when we come back to the land for appropriation, 900 homes. But the critical thing about this is that it isn't just a housing site. What we want to ensure is there's open space there, that we protect the relic dunes, that we have a new education.
Sorry, you're frozen there.
Yes.
Chair,
Sorry, Janine, you froze then.
Sorry, Chair, I dropped out then. So we do have a very clear vision for what it is we want to achieve on this site, very clear vision. But what is important is that we cannot predetermine the detail of that, because the detail has to come through planning applications. And only when planning applications come in, can we then look at the detail, the exact detail of what will go where. That is not what today is about. Today is about ensuring we can use that land for planning purposes, and that we can take that land that used to be a caravan park, we can protect relic dunes, we can put open space in, and then we can use some of it for housing, subject to planning. And only then, when we get planning permission, can we look at securing 106 agreements. So there's nothing clandestine here. It's not piecemeal. We do know what we're doing. It's definitely not piecemeal. It's high level and strategic, and we have a framework. But the issue is, as yet, we don't have those detailed plans showing where the housing would be, because the planning applications haven't come in. But what we are committed to do is to have a sustainable development on the area. And hopefully, when you've seen some of the plans and we've had that discussion, you will understand some of that detail. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. I'm going to move on to Councillor Llewellyn Hopkins, please.
Could I just ask, you never mentioned anything within that strategic that they really know on our LDP, the tourists, what accommodation will be available through this area for touring caravans, maybe static, etc. Because the lifeblood historically of the town and the small town centres, etc., is based upon tourists and has been. If you only look back 100, you can go back 100 years, look at Coney Beach, they had racing cars taking place down there. It was a fantastic, people travelled everywhere, obviously mostly miners and iron workers and people like that. But there's nothing in the scheme at the moment that tells me Porthcawl can maintain a sustainable future for all its children.
Apologies, Councillor Jenkins.
Sorry,
yes, no. I'm happy to take the supplementary question if the supplementary question is about is there provision for caravans, etc. Is that the question?
Yes.
Lovely, thank you, Janine. Can I just bring Kelly in, because I can see that she's just got her hand up just before.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to reiterate again that this calling is to deal with the appropriation of land and things like the caravans and tourism. They will be for a future debate at a later time. This specifically needs to be on the appropriation. And I'm just conscious with time. And if you are going to spend time dealing with questions that are not relevant, then obviously, you know, it could extend the meeting even further.
Thank you, Kelly. I do appreciate that. And with that in mind, I'm going to let this question slide and we're going to move on. Councillor Llewellyn Hopkins, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just two quick questions off myself. I wondered, out of the about 16,000 residents in Porthcawl, how many responses were actually received to the consultation? And secondly, I'd like to know what steps will be taken to protect the infrastructure, schools, roads, etc. That's it from me, please.
Not a problem. Janine, would you like to come back in on this, or did you want them to go to the cabinet member?
No, that's fine, Chair. I'm happy to take these. We had 600 representations on the appropriation, but we had over 1,000 on the LDP. And we had a similar amount on the placemaking strategy. So I think in terms of percentage and the amount of people who live in the village or in the town of Porthcawl, but believe it or not, that's quite a high percentage. We had lots and lots of people who came to the exhibition and had their questions answered at the exhibition, so didn't put a consultation response in. But we had 600 and we were very pleased with that number. What we're going to do about protecting the infrastructure, that's a key, absolutely key part of any development. And any new development that comes in, for instance, new homes, is going to require a new school, new infrastructure to accommodate that new community that we're creating. So that's a key part of the provision. Within the LDP document itself, you will see all of that in policy. We would never introduce new homes into a community unless it was sustainable, and we had all the facilities to wrap around it. So hopefully when you see the detail coming forward, it'll give you some reassurances, Councillor.
Thank you, Janine. Can I bring Leader in, please?
Yeah, thanks for that, Chair. I think it's a fair question. Just reassurance for all members that planning for the future of education provision in Porthcawl has already taken place. So as well as proposals to extend the local English medium primary provision, we also have exciting plans about opening the first Welsh medium primary school ever in Porthcawl, and I know that's been warmly welcomed by members of the local community. And in addition to that, we're also progressing plans for a new Welsh medium childcare facility as well, which also will be important to local parents and families. And then not on the site, but there's the wider infrastructure around Metro Plus, etc. So that's at the heart of the vision that we have for not just this site, but the wider plans for Porthcawl. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Leader. I'm just going to remind councillors that we do need to keep it appropriate to the appropriation. We have been told by Kelly Watson now that is what we need to focus on. So with that in mind, are you content with your answer, Councillor Llewellyn Hopkin?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you. I'm going to come to Councillor Eugene Kaparos next, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So as we only discussing really the appropriation and possibly sending that back to Cabinet, am I right in thinking that when it goes back, all you will be considering is this decision again? It's not going to start a consultation. In fact, it's going to frustrate and delay the consultation, which is due to come later, or potentially limit or lower the scope of the appropriation and thus any future redevelopment and investment in Porthcawl. So the question is, when it gets sent back to Cabinet, are we just going to have a rerun of the same thing? And for those of us who want the public to engage and be part of the consultation and put forward their views on issues like tourism, the best way is really to proceed to consultation, having accepted this.
Thank you. Who would like to answer the question?
Well, I think I'm sure that Janine can come in, but what we don't want to do is delay our plans for Porthcawl. I think Councillor Kaparos has made a good point around consultation. I know it's been raised by you, Chair, and other members around those next steps and some of the public speakers. What we can certainly do, and what we will do following today's meeting, is give serious consideration to next steps and how we consult and engage with the community on that very important detail, because there is choices to be made. There will be choices to be made, not about some of the key principles, because members, and I'll repeat because Councillor Jenkins has made that point, I'll repeat that the principle of development for this site and other sites in Porthcawl has been established and has been agreed by I think all the members in the meeting here today were part of the LDP discussions and decisions recently, and a decision has been made about the local development plan, and in that local development plan are the clear principles and plans for a mixed use regeneration site with housing, with schools, with public open space for this. But we can take, and we will take on board, regardless of today's outcome, the the views that have been expressed about consultation. But if this is to be referred back, then that is adding more time to the process. And obviously, we want to progress the regeneration of Call and build on the work that's happening around the redevelopment of Eastern Promenade, the redevelopment of Cosy Corner, and other key developments for Call. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Leader. And I'm just going to caveat that with, I am mindful of what yourself and Councillor Kaparos are saying there with the delays that it could implement if we send it back to Cabinet. However, I'm also going to remind members that this has been ongoing, as Councillor Jenkins pointed out, for a number of years. And I think we need to get this right. We do need to consider it properly. And that's why it's come for a call-in. So although I understand what you're saying, I do think we have to get this correct and give it the correct scrutiny that it requires. So thank you very much. Councillor Jenkins, is that a legacy hand?
Oh, sorry, Chair. Yes, yeah, I'll take it down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers. Kelly?
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to clarify the process. So the decision before the Scrutiny Committee today is whether you accept the decision that's been made by Cabinet, or your alternative is just to send it back to Cabinet so they can reconsider their decision. So again, as I pointed out, you can't look at the wider issues around future development for the land that will come at a later date. You can refer it back to Cabinet to consider their decision on the appropriation only.
Thank you. That's very clear. And I hope members will consider that when we come to look at this shortly now. So if there's no further questions, invitees who are not required for the next report may leave the meeting, and the non-committee members may remain but cannot take part in the decision. I'll now move to ask the committee if, having regard to whether it's satisfied with the responses, if it wishes to A, refer the decision back to Cabinet for reconsideration, setting out the reasons and the rationale for the request, or decide not to refer the matter back to Cabinet. Do we have a mover and a seconder for this proposal?
Yes, I would move that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I would second that, Chair.
Sorry, Chair, can we be clear which one they're proposing? There's two options there, please.
Sorry, yes. Which one are you proposing, gentlemen? Are you proposing that we send it back or that we do not?
I move that we send it back.
And I'm seconding that, Chair.
Thank you.
So we'll move to a vote then, Chair?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Because it's a remote meeting. Sorry, Kelly. Okay.
Sorry, Kelly.
Sorry, yeah. I just wanted to point out to the committee before they take the vote that if they decide to send the matter back to Cabinet, they have to give their reasons for sending that back. And given the fact that we've had the call-in notice, their reasons need to relate back to the specific issues that have been raised in the call-in notice. So just for members to be aware that depending on which way they vote, they will need to give their reasons if they're sending it back to Cabinet, so that obviously Cabinet then have the opportunity to explore those particular concerns as set out in the call-in notice.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, I can see you've got your hand up. Do you want to come in very briefly?
Yes, please. I've got a question for Kelly, if possible.
Mm-hmm.
If we were minded to not send it back, would we be able to put some recommendations based on the questions that have been raised by the public today and some of the answers given by officers to Cabinet for the next process? Obviously, we can't on the decision that's already been made, but for the next stage, so that they do involve, for example, the town council, and they do involve the public. Thanks.
Chair, are you happy for me to come in?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Williams. Yes, so if you decided not to send the report back to Cabinet, the decision would stand, so the appropriation decision would stand as is, and that would progress. But you can, of course, then send a report to Cabinet outlining any recommendations you have for further proposals or for further consultation and engagement with the public. Obviously, I can't speak on behalf of Cabinet, but you know, I'm sure the leader would agree that they would take on board those comments that are made in any future process going forward.
with that in mind, Councillor Williams, do you want to propose an amendment?
Apologies, I'm on my phone, so I'm trying to flip through screens. I think personally, sorry, Councillor Ross Thomas has just put his hand up. Do you want me to wait for him to speak first? Sorry.
If you wish, yes, Councillor Thomas. Councillor Thomas, can't hear you.
Sorry, Chair. The joys of modern
okay.
technology. My hand was up on the proviso that Councillor Williams was going to make a proposal that she's minded not to send it back to Cabinet. So I guess I'm pre-seconding it on the assumption that she's going to do that. I don't think we will get any further. If we send it back to Cabinet, we will just rehearse what's been discussed today. There's been a significant airing and sharing of views today. Really appreciate that, but I also appreciate what Councillor Williams is saying in terms of perhaps a report from this committee, just to make a couple of recommendations. Thanks.
Thank you. With that in mind, Councillor Williams, do you want to?
Yes,
propose?
I'll propose. I propose we don't send it back to Cabinet, but we do send a report based on the questions that were asked today on some suggestions for the future stages. Thanks.
And that's
I'll formally second.
Thank you. Cheers. So with that in mind, do we, sorry, Meryl, just on process, Kelly, Meryl, do we take the vote and then the amendment? How do we do this? Sorry.
Could I come in, Chair?
Just 1 second, Councillor Jenkins, I'll come back to you in a second.
Chair, as the first item was moved and seconded, you'd need to take it, unless that's now withdrawn, you'll need to take a vote on that one before you then move on to the second one. It may be, having heard the explanations given by Councillor Williams, that the mover of that first item may wish to reconsider.
Not a problem. That's Councillor Jenkins, so I'm going to come back to you now.
Well, based on the last two speakers as well, and I believe there may well be a consensus not to send it on, I will withdraw that proposal.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Chair, based on the amendment, I will withdraw the second of that motion.
Thank you, well. Councillor Wathen. Thank you very much. So on that basis, we have the amendment of Councillor Williams, which was to pardon me, sorry, do the report back to Cabinet, wasn't it?
It was to accept the Cabinet's decision, but send a report back with recommendations for future stages based on what the public have raised in this meeting and councillors. Thanks.
Thank you. Meryl, do we need to take a vote on this now?
We still need a vote, I think, to show that everyone's in favour, or that there's a majority in favour. So before we go to a vote, because it's a remote meeting, we would normally read out a roll call to establish who's still here, who's the people who are a member of this committee and are still here. So if Lucy reads out the names, and if members can just say if they're still here for the record.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we could start with yourself, please, Chair.
Here.
And then Councillor Eugene Capacross.
Present.
Please. And Councillor Paul Davis.
I believe Paul's left the call.
And Councillor Paula Ford. Councillor Della Hughes.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Maxine Lewis.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Joanna Llewellyn Hopkins.
Yeah.
Councillor Ross Penhall Thomas.
I'm hanging on, Chair, I'm here.
Councillor Alan Worthen.
Yeah, present.
Councillor Amanda Williams.
Yes, I'm here too, thanks.
And Councillor Richard Williams.
Present.
Can I just
And myself. Did you call myself out, Councillor Jenkins?
Yeah. No, we
Councillor
didn't.
Jenkins is not a member of the committee to vote, though, is he?
Oh,
Just for
right.
clarification.
Absolutely. And sorry, can we just have clarification around Councillor Ford as well? Was Councillor Ford on the call?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine. No, I just heard a noise as we were that name.
I think she had to leave early.
Not a problem. Right, could we take that to a vote, please?
So just to be clear, what members are being asked to vote on is that you're minded not to send it back to Cabinet, but to send recommendations back to Cabinet to be borne in mind for future consultation there.
Thank you.
So if we read out the councillors' names, if you can say if you're in favour or not in favour. Lucy will take us through the names who are here.
Yeah, of course. So sorry, so we start with yourself again, Chair, please.
I'm in favour.
And Councillor Eugene Capros.
In favour?
And then Councillor Della Hughes, please.
In favour.
And Councillor Maxine Lewis.
In favour.
And Councillor Joanna Lewin-Hopkins, please.
In favour.
And Councillor Ross Penhill-Thomas.
For.
Councillor Alan Worthen, please.
In favour.
Sorry, I think it froze on me. Councillor Amanda Williams, please.
In favour.
And Councillor Richard Williams, please.
In favour.
So Chair, that's carried unanimously then for everybody who's left in the meeting from the committee.
Thank you. So on that conclusion, it's carried. It's going to go back to sorry, not to go back to Cabinet, but with recommendations. The report's going to go through with recommendations. So thank you very much, everyone. Moving on to item 7, forward work programme. I will ask the scrutiny officer to present the report. I will then call upon members to indicate they wish to speak by clicking on the raise hand icon in turn. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Chair, just before that, we got the conclusions from the first report to just sum up.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Item 6, conclusions, recommendations. So could I ask the scrutiny officer to summarise the key points and the committee to make its conclusions and recommendations, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, if I can just take us back to the first report, which members obviously had or asked rather quite a lot of questions and received quite lengthy answers from officers. In terms of any conclusions, there was discussion regarding what Bridgend is doing to promote itself in terms of recruitment as compared to other local authorities, and the Corporate Director for Social Services and Wellbeing detailed what they hope to do better in regards to promotion of financial and non-financial benefits of working in Bridgend. And I believe there was some discussion as to whether the committee wanted to make a recommendation with regards to what members want to do to support the marketing and promotion of Bridgend, and perhaps what support they wanted to put behind the Deputy Leader in discussions with the WLGA regarding terms and conditions and pay. So whether that was to be a recommendation of the committee.
Is the committee minded that that should be a recommendation? Is there any comment? Councillor Thomas?
Yeah, thanks. So I think it was me that raised this with the director. It feels like such a long time ago. I think it might be useful if you as chair liaise with the deputy leader to see what support this committee can give her, whether that's by way of written representation or anything else really, so that we can sort of just help her and assist her in conversations with WLGA and Welsh Government. I'm pretty sure she would welcome that.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you. And Chair, if I may, I'll take you through. I think there are a couple of outstanding requests for information that the committee may wish to have as well. There was concern raised regarding calls to IAA not being recorded, and the Corporate Director agreed to provide a briefing note to the committee setting out the process around calls coming into IAA and how some of them are recorded, together with guidance, I think she said, given to and around the responsibility of schools and professionals.
I'm happy to accept that if she's prepared to bring that in.
Fabulous. And obviously there was some discussion, I think, following that as to the forward work programme, which I'll come on to obviously in the next item, and there being an item come into the committee on the pressures in IAA, and invitees, I think it was suggested, could come from education colleagues around that, so we can maybe address that in the next item.
Absolutely.
I think there were 3 other items of information requested. One, which was what is the highest caseload of a social worker. The committee were provided details regarding average caseloads in IAA and locality hubs, but I don't think the highest caseload was available at the time of the meeting.
If that could be sent to the committee, that would be welcomed.
Fantastic. And in relation that the committee has provided information regarding direct payments and the purpose of them, and I think a request was made as to how many direct payments have been applied for and how many were made, and whether that's good. So I'm looking for advice from the committee for their input as to what period they would be looking for that information for, whether it's just the previous financial year at this point.
Maybe the last 12 months, perhaps. I don't know. Councillor Williams has got her hand up, hasn't she?
Yeah, I think the chair might have.
Apologies.
We can hear you now,
I
Chair.
am having problems, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say that was my question, and I didn't say it, but on my paperwork was 12 months, the last 12 months, because I'm assuming that's what we've been looking at for the report as well.
I'm happy with that if that's okay.
Yeah, also I'll make that note, Chair. And finally, I think concern was raised regarding the waiting list, the average waiting list of 12 weeks for children into the youth emotional mental health team. And I believe it was agreed that by Ian Macmillan that he would try and find out the current waiting time for that service. So we can make that request if the committee's minded.
I'm happy to make that request and accept it. Thank you. Lovely.
And I believe it's just the recommendations on the call-in then, Chair, if you did want to go to those.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Sorry, I was going to suggest, Chair, because obviously it's been hours and hours of a meeting, and the recommendation was agreed. Not the recommendation, sorry, the proposal was agreed. I was going to suggest that if you give us a little bit of time to pull together and liaise with yourself as chair on the feedback to the cabinet, and in fact we can send it around to the whole membership that was here today just to check that they're happy with it before we feed that back.
I'm content to do that. That's preferable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on. Item 7, forward work programme. I will ask the scrutiny officer to present the report. I will call upon the members who indicate they wish to speak by clicking on the raise hand icon in turn. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Following on from members' consideration of the forward work programme at the previous meeting on the 11th of July, the forward work programme for this committee is attached as Appendix A. The subject overview and scrutiny committee's forward work programmes will be included in the next report to COSC, with any updates from each subject overview and scrutiny committee meeting included. The recommendations monitoring action sheet is attached as Appendix B to track the responses to the committee's recommendations at the previous meetings. And I'll hand back to you, Chair, for any questions from members.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions? I was just about to say, are we all content? Councillor Thomas.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Prolonging the meeting. Just one really quick question. On the February meeting, really good to see the health board here. Is that going to include hospital discharge? I'm guessing it does, because it's the wider sort of remit of the health board in partnership with the local authority.
Yes, it will. It is, obviously, you'll note that there are two separate items on the forward work programme, but it may be that both are included within the one report. It's the delays in adult social care packages is the additional item that was added at the meeting in July, and we will liaise with the corporate director to see whether that's going to be one or two reports.
That's fab. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other questions, members? No, in that case, I'm going to move us on to item 8, the urgent items. There are no urgent items of business, you'll be very relieved to hear, in respect of which notice has been given in accordance with Part 4, Paragraph 4 of the Council Procedure Rules. And with that in mind, at 14:28, I'm going to close the meeting. Thank you very much for everyone who's attended, and thank you for all officers' time, all Cabinet members' time, and all members of the public, as well as our members. I'm very grateful that you've sat through this because it's been a very, very, very long meeting. So thank you very much, everyone.
Sterling chair in chair. Well done. Thank you.